The stakes are so high at this point, which is why everyone's focusing on your timeline, because if you don't get this done in the time frame that you'd like, then taxes become, delayed. So how do you see your timeline taking place in 2017 in terms of the real priorities on the agenda?
We're going exactly to the timeline that we laid out. Our first process was regulation reform, and look how successful we've been at that. Never before had a Congressional Review Act, only one has ever been signed into law. We've already put 3 into law and passed 14 in the House. We've now moved to health care. We've produced the bill, gone through 2 committees, and we're on track exactly where we thought we would be. Once we get done with health care, and this is what CBO says as well, it's repealing more than $800 billion worth of taxes. Well, that lowers the baseline that allows us to do and broaden tax reform. That's where we'll go next once health care is done. But you are correct. That's why it's so critical to get health care done now so we can move to tax reform and get growth coming back into America. And to me, that's the #1 thing we need. Growth in America will solve many of our problems. This idea that America settles for mediocrity, that 2% and less is the new norm, that's not where America's at. We should be 3–4% of growth. That would be a fundamental difference and a change.
What's a realistic corporate tax rate? Is it 20%, Congressman? And what's a realistic tax cut for an average American out there today? What are people who are watching really going to see when your tax reform plan gets signed into law?
Well, I think it should be 20% or lower on corporate rate. We just know if we want to compete, and we're in a competitive world, America needs to at least start on the same starting line as the other countries. And the other part, the tax reform should be, especially for every American, it should be fair. They should be able to fill it out on a postcard. You don't need 7 different brackets of rates. That should be 3. And people should be able to understand whether they're having with their money that's fair, that somebody across the aisle, that they're not paying different if they're making the same amount. And I think what you'll find is that will bring growth back to America and, more importantly, jobs back to America. You watch what this president has done, and you just look at the latest report for small business confidence. They've seen a change in the White House, and now they're seeing policy changes here in Congress and the Senate, and we just need to carry through to make sure we finish the job.
So in terms of the bigger impact to the economy, and you just talked about 4% economic growth, does that come as a result of the business tax at 20%, or do you think that comes as a result of people just spending more money because they're getting to keep more of their own money?
I think it's a combination of both, and it's also a combination of creating jobs back in America. And that is a new structure within the tax reform. It focuses on building jobs in America at the same time. And that's what you'll find why growth continues to go forward.
What's as important as Obamacare and tax reform after that? Would it be an infrastructure plan?
Yeah, I think infrastructure. You need to plan to be not what America looks like in next month, but what should America look like in the next 100 years? And are we building the foundation for it? So that goes beyond just roads and bridges. Do we have the most current FAA process of how to fly planes around and security going? Are we making sure America is actually wired, that we have the internet everywhere? There are a lot of things we should be looking at to building on what the greatness of the last generations have been and setting up that America is leading the world for the next century as well.
Yeah, Congressman, you make a lot of good points in terms of innovation. While we're on this subject, we've been talking about drones all morning. Should drones be regulated?
Well, you have to set a framework for them, and right now the FAA went through and they have 5 different locations they picked to actually start using drones along at the same time. We need to make sure they're secure, because as the world continues to change, and especially from a health perspective, I have an area that's rural and a big part of it out in the desert. A drone can deliver medical products in a much safer mode than somebody in driving, and in a more timely basis.
Yeah.
So there are ways that it can make America safer. We just want to make sure we're protected at the same time. We should not be afraid of it, but we should make sure we have the requirements in that we are safe.
Yeah, especially since people are also talking about their privacy issues around drones, so it comes up.
That is very important what people do. We want to make sure we protect their privacy, but we want to take the traditions of the past but apply them to a changing future. And that's exactly what you need to do. We should not ignore, we should embrace the future, but make sure we protect the privacy as we go forward.
Yeah. Congressman, it's great to have you on the program this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I always enjoy being on your show.
We'll see you soon. Kevin McCarthy joining us there.